Harry Cole with us in the studio. Fresh from that interview, there's just time for Never Mind the Balance. Was it an extra show or an early show this week?
Yeah, we were sort of off the back of Rachel Reeves' speech. We thought we'd speak to the Treasury and put some concerns to them. I mean, that whole speech seems to be a complete acceptance that they've got it wrong so far. And all that doom and gloom we heard from July, August, September, all those emergency press conferences and speeches and clips to cameras basically saying the country's going down the Swanee. Yeah. And now we've got this new Chancellor, you know, it's like, who's the new girl? Like, suddenly she's like, everything's great, Britain's brilliant, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that, which I think is a sort of tacit acceptance, I mean, not even that tacit, a pretty clear acceptance that, you know, they've almost talked the country into a recession. They have spooked the markets, they've spooked business confidence, and the sort of point I was trying to get to Darren Jones earlier was, you know, you're a cabinet of trade unionists, lawyers, you know, life career politicians. No one's actually ever run a business, so why should we believe them when they say, oh, everything's fine, rather than talking to bosses and employers who are saying, ow, everything's hurting. So
was this a PR thing? I mean, did they sit there and everything you've just said correctly, Harry, where they thought, hang on a second, you know, it's all about mood music as well, you know, direction of intent. Look at what's happening with Trump, and in America there's a real sense of euphoria, a new beginning. Labour have had none of that.
I think so. I mean, two things. One, you know, the way that we run this country is slightly mad in the fact that you go in from an election campaign, 6, 7, 8 weeks on the road, and then when you're at peak exhaustion, they put you straight into the Treasury or straight into Treasury. You don't get, you know, whereas Trump's clearly spent the last 3 months on this transition period working out this, you know, big, you know, sort of blitz to start off with a bit of time to sort of, I don't think we'll ever change it, but it is really interesting to see him really hit the ground running.
It's a very good point, because you get the job at around about sort of 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. And the next day you are literally in Downing.
Exactly, and then on the Monday morning you've got to basically make sure that everything, the team you've put in place and everything you've said so far isn't going to scare the markets. And I think that's what Labour, the problem that Labour had was that they were sort of slightly haunted by their last time in power and the sort of 70s and their reputation as, you know, lefties, which, you know, kind of some of them are, some of them aren't. That actually I think they were so keen to keep the city on board, big finance, the big investment firms, the pension firms. They didn't want the markets to sort of immediately reject them. That actually everything they've done actually has been quite pro, you know, sort of really high finance, and actually they've shoveled the burden onto people that make things and employ people and smaller businesses. And that's, I think, the real contradiction at the heart of this government is they say they're on the side of business, but it depends what business. If it's, you know, if it's big international finance, they love it. If it's small businesses, they're really feeling
they love a bit of BlackRock.
Exactly.
They like a bit of Bloomberg, you know.
And they like them.
Yeah, indeed. They're up for all of that. And of course, you know, when he was in opposition, or just leading up to being Prime Minister, on things like, you know, I'm thinking about Israel, for example, you know, where he was far more forthright than Rishi Sunak was initially, you know, about our position and making sure that we protect and Israel's right to defend. And Starmer was very quick on that.
I think the problem is that what's taken them a long time to work out is they're not in opposition anymore. And when they say, and we can talk about this again, and we've talked about it till the cows come home. When you say something in opposition, you can chuck rocks, you can be a bit more forthright. Look at Nigel Farage. You know, look at the way Kemi Bednark now and what the Tories are saying. When they were in government, they were saying almost the exact opposite. The problem, I think, that Reeves and co didn't really realise to begin with, actually you can move markets and you can move confidence and you can move trust very, very, very quickly when you are the government.
Absolutely.
And actually they came in and they talked down the country and they said everything's, I nearly swore. I always swear on this show, you have to dump me occasionally. You know, they came in, they didn't realise, I think the power of their words actually really did have a knock-on effect. They took the highest growth in the G7 at the beginning of 2024 and, you know, the end of 24, the last 2 quarters, flatlining.
Absolutely.
I put some of this to Darren Jones, and he didn't exactly defend himself.
Let's have a listen. This is Harry talking to Darren Jones. He's the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, essentially the number 2 to Rachel Reeves, and asking him essentially what he thought about Reeves' decisions as Chancellor.
You've increased taxes, you've pushed borrowings to the absolute limit, you've destroyed business confidence, you killed growth. This is all panic, isn't it? This is a good case to sack the Chancellor.
Oh, complete rubbish. Come on, look, you saw today a strong Chancellor in control of the agenda for this country.
Really? Or a panicking Chancellor pivoting and trying to U-turn?
Panicking. You're creating a fiction, Harry.
Would you like the job if she...
It was a great speech today, setting out this government's agenda, why the plan for change is working, the plan for change that the British people voted for, with a historic landslide for a Labour government. We're getting on with the job of the change that we promised in delivering, and that is a great thing for the country.
It's like somebody opened a packet of politicians, isn't it? There is these set templates.
He's a very silky man, actually,
Very.
Darren. He's very sort of polished. He's very good. He's very clearly a very smart guy.
Yeah.
Look, I just think that what they can't answer and what they probably won't admit is that they probably should have done this. This is what they should have been saying on day one. A bit of optimism. And then Rachel Reeves said, we need a bit of Trump-like optimism. There is definitely an argument to that. And actually, they are exceptionally. I think they've been too gloomy, too Eeyore. And words matter. And look, if they do all the things they're going to say, they said they're going to do today, and they really do take on the sort of the blob, the regulatory blob. Great. I think your listeners and my readers will have some. Will need to go some way to believing that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, two basically technocratic people, are going to be the new Maggie Thatcher and Keith Joseph and Nigel Lawson and have this new sort of big bang of deregulation. I'll believe it when I see it. But
absolutely
good intentions. But now let's see the colour of their money.
The inside world of Westminster, Harry, you know what's going on. We've got a bit of a countdown going here. Countdown to Ed Miliband's resignation, because surely anyone who's been that evangelical about net zero would walk the plank the minute you announced Heathrow expansion. As we sit here today, we're about 3 hours, 50 minutes in from when she announced it. He's still there. He wasn't at the speech. He wasn't at PMQs, but he's still in the job.
Where's Millie, as they say?
Where's Millie? We want to know. He's not resigned, and he's not likely to, because he likes a chauffeur in a big red box.
I don't know if it's that. I think it's more the zeal of the cause. If he can swallow Heathrow, he can pretty much swallow anything.
Yeah.
But what he's doing under the scenes, it's interesting actually, because he's been a minister before. Actually, the ones that are the most
in this brief as well.
Yeah, in this brief, the ones that know the departments have worked out why. The ones that were in the last Labour government seem to be the most effective ministers. And you can disagree, and I do disagree a lot with some of what Ed Miliband is doing. But he's very effective as a minister. So actually, I don't think he will resign. I think he'll sit there and just keep pushing that boat further and further and further out. And he'll win some and he'll lose some, but the ones he wins, are the ones that actually aren't as sexy as Heathrow or as sort of controversial, but will have much of an impact there. But he's there to stop basically any backtracking on North Sea oil and gas.
But does it not dilute their credibility somewhat on their own, by their own words, by their own reckoning? Net zero, this is, what it's all about. This is, planes are worse than cars. We don't do that stuff here anymore. That was for the previous lot to do. We're reducing all this kind of guff, and yet here they are expanding it. Spoiler alert, by the way, they won't expand because it won't happen.
The really interesting thing, we look at the polls and talk to our readers, and people don't. It's not the end goal that they necessarily mind. It's not the idea that we should leave the planet in a better place than we inherited. Absolutely, and if you make it cleaner and nicer to live here. Albeit, maybe when people will one day want to buy an electric car, maybe one day when there is an alternative for gas boilers that is affordable and effective, then they will voluntarily sign up. We all recycle, people. It's not, it's not the end of the world, is it? I mean, there's some people argue it is. However, it's the unrealistic costs of it, and it's the fact that it's always once again put on consumers to pick up the rap. And then they look across at China opening new coal-fired power stations. They look at Donald Trump, go, you know what? These electric car manufacturing mandates. They're clearly nonsense. The manufacturers know they're nonsense. Consumers know they're nonsense, and it's the irritation at being made to do something that's clearly, is unrealistic, and everyone's sort of going on it. And if you question it, you're suddenly Satan. And you just think the zeal at which people like Ed Miliband go at this, that we're almost cutting off our noses to spite our faces in the fact that we've got this great, still got these great reserves of oil and gas in the North Sea, and energy independence is going to be such a big issue in the next 20 years, and as the world gets madder and madder, and it's like we are sort of almost punishing ourselves out of pure politics rather than actually being pragmatic and realistic about the way the world is, and I think that's what annoys people.
The other issue we've got running this afternoon.
I had a bit of a rant there.
No, I like it. It's good. We are all for the rant, Harry, here on the programme. The other question we're throwing out, in addition to Millie Watch, is runway watch. How long does it take to build a runway?
2040, they're saying now.
I mean, come on. I mean, it goes back, sadly, as I said to Kevin Schofield a second ago. We made this very point. Indeed, you know that thing that when blokes talk, everything leads back to the Romans. You know, and the
All
Romans,
roads lead to
the
Rome,
people of
yeah.
straight roads.
Yeah.
I mean, a runway of all things that wouldn't take much imagination. You might think a flipping runway, Harry, is up there, isn't it?
The funniest thing, I think, I actually looked like a mad person. I was just laughing to myself on the train when I was reading this earlier. They're going to have to knock down BA's headquarters to build this runway.
Is that right?
There's this ginormous sort of glass palace on the side of Heathrow, which is the global headquarters of BA, which is right where they're going to build it. So they're going to have to knock that down now. And you just think all these little things. Obviously, you got look. The fight hasn't. Rachel Reeves has not won the argument on growth today. She started the argument on planning and growth. She's now got to get it through all of those new Labour MPs who, suddenly they've been elected, but they haven't really been tested on anything, and they've got smaller majorities. A lot of them. It's a very big but very thin, majority in Parliament. There's a lot of people that will start to worry when they start to get their constituents in the neck, saying, "What on earth are you doing?" You've got the Mayor of London already out saying he's not convinced about Heathrow. And, the fight begins now. Sure. It's all very well saying, yes, the Treasury is backing it. Yeah. Great. Wait till they see people lying in front of bulldozers and the like. And that's even before the bulldozers, and before the bulldozers even get there, we'll have years of judicial review. And as happens before. This is why, if it was easy, the last government would have done it, and if it was really easy, the government before that would have done it.
But I think they can bring their own MPs. Right? I mean, they did it with winter fuel allowance. All those new MPs that had those, were holding those banners saying we won't cut winter fuel allowance.
The closer you get to an election, though, and the Treasury and Rachel Reeves are about to ask the Labour Party to swallow an awful lot in the coming months. Spending cuts. She has not got any money. She would not be doing this speech if it was all going brilliantly. They haven't got any money. They can't put taxes up anymore because the tax burden's already at the highest level in peacetime, or whatever it is, since the Second World War. They cannot do it. They've got to cut. They've got to cut the benefits bill. That's going to really wind up a lot of Labour MPs, and they're going to have to reduce budgets of government departments. And this is going to be painful because they're a party that have wanged on about austerity for 20 years, and you can't touch the say. Yeah. And the NHS chief executive today out there saying, look, we're probably going to need more money again. Yeah. Just more. And actually, on top of all of that, you're also asking them to concrete over half their constituencies, which they've only just won. Yeah. And so, yes, there is yes, they can force some stuff through, but there's an awful lot they're asking of their MPs. At some point, it's going to go, no,
100%.
Enough.
Darren Jones might get that job before we even know it.
He didn't say he didn't want it. He just said he wasn't going to get it anytime soon.
You've got a taster with Harry talking to Darren Jones, Chief Secretary to the Treasury. You can watch the full episode of that. It's on the talkTV YouTube channel. Never mind the ballots. It's always a cracking show. Great analysis and just I would say how politics should be done.
Oh, you're very kind.
Well, there's a lot of old nonsense out there, frankly, in the world of politics. I think also
you don't necessarily have to scream at. You'll know this. You don't have to scream at someone to get to get A, good TV, and B, good answers, and actually a little bit more rope, should we say? And who knows what happens?
It's there now. Harry Cole is, of course, the Sun's political editor.